Hey there, welcome to SharkCast, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps and Cripps Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi. I'm an OG from 2015, supporting this great club for a lot longer than that. And on the other end of the line is our good friend, a regular Monday correspondent, and comedic tragic, which we'll get to. His name is Kieran Fraser. He's a good mate of mine, a good mate of ours. We want to thank you for welcoming him into the SharkCast online family. And we'll say good morning, Kieran. What jersey is that? That's 95 or something?
This is the 96. So one of my favorite years, I think was 96 was the Nick Howe's first year. That was kind of the year that I really attached myself with this club. So one of my favorite ones. I actually wore this one on Thursday night. So I know we're going to talk about that. But I was going through my office because I just wear work swag. I didn't want to wear my work clothes on this. And I saw this one and I thought, let's relive it. Let's go back to Thursday.
Well, if we have to, we can go back to Thursday. It was not a great night.
It started well at the pub.
Started well at the pub we call the brewery. I had one of the great burgers from, what are we calling them? Burger Head? Burger Fuel?
I think it was Burger Head, yeah.
Burger Head. So shout out to them. We're hanging out with Cleve and David.
My good mate Dave, yeah.
Dave. And then it kind of went downhill. Sharks losing the game. What was it? 30-28. Down 22-0 after not very long. And really, Kieran, we put that loss down to the unenthusiastic start, much like my performance on this podcast this morning, but just a disappointing way to kind of see ourselves out to the bye, the first half of the year, second bye of the year. And boy, I was not happy with that opening stanza.
It was one of those times where we look at each other and we said, this is one of the worst times I've had at the football. And I think we said that during the Panthers game as well. And it's just like, how do we keep missing these starts and how does that kind of happen? It boggles the mind because when they got the ball, controlled the ball, they put on all those points really quickly and easily. But that damage that they let in that first 25 minutes was just unheard of. It was ridiculous. So I don't know how that happens. I don't know why that happens, but hopefully the break will freshen them up and they can go again.
Yeah, a bunch of the boys, as you pointed out, left for holidays that night, next morning, and they deserve a break. It's been a good start to the year, but just looking at recent form, Kieran, and we're one of the past four, is that correct?
That does sound about right. I mean, they beat the Broncos, but other than that, it's been pretty
so
grim.
We got Penrith 42-0, Para 34-22, win against Brisbane 22-12, loss last week. So 3 past 4. I didn't realize in my head that's what it was. So that is not a great way to go into the bye. We're coming third currently. There's a bye coming up. It'll slip us up to probably second or whatever. So we're in a good spot still, but really should be winning some of these games. Now, the teams we've lost to recently, Penrith still should have got the job done, but lost to Penrith. Lost to Para, who had their players back. They've shown a bit of improve. Probably still should have won that one. Losing to the Dolphins, there's no shame in that. It's more the manner in which we did it. I think we're going to have to tinker with that starting pack again, moving into the next game against the Bulldogs. They just need a lot more enthusiasm, a lot more go forward. Now, it's not all on them because there were errors, there were penalties, which meant they didn't get much of a chance to go forward. But it's just not good enough at this point to be down by that much. And again, it's not just because of the props. Like some of the outside defense was horrific and just soft. I mean, maybe forget about working out the forwards. Maybe we need to work out how to start the games. Just get more fired up. I don't know what the issue is there.
It's really frustrating when they beat themselves. Like if you lose to a team that plays a lot better than you can kind of cop it. I mean, the Dolphins were super disciplined. They didn't make barely any errors, especially in that start of the game. They held the ball, they got through their sets, and they just went straight through our pack. So that's why I think the pack's copped a little bit of flack here. I think the real key for us is we've been kind of saying, once the bench comes on, we're okay, right? The bench can kind of overpower other benches. That Dolphins bench was just full of hardened, experienced players, and we did get on top of them once our benches started going bench for bench. But the starters weren't able to kind of go punch for punch with them, and some of those tries they let in were really soft. That offload try for Platt to score next to the post to start the game, and just some errors from our outside backs too. Right? There were some penalties given away. There were some drop balls and bad play the balls. They all directly led to points. And when you look back to when we got pumped by Penrith, same thing, right? So it's like if they could just find a way to stop these errors and to stop these silly penalties and piggybacks, they'll be in a lot better position. But look, that's easier said than done. But look, I think we do need Hamlin Ueli and Toby back. And we've spoke about it a couple of times, is working out what does their best rotation look like. And I've seen those two cop a lot of flack online, but the fact is they haven't played a lot of football in the last 18 months. They both had injury years last year. This year, they've both missed a ton of football as well. So we need those guys fit and playing at their best if we're to do anything.
We do. And, boy, there's a ton of flack online, which is we'll get to as well. But, yeah, some of the defence for those tries, was it the Herbie Farmworth try where Ramian came in and left Nico on his own? He went through Nico, and most of the tries were soft. I think Bostock went through like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah.
There was the kick on Ero's side. They were just not up for it. And then when they were up for it, they came back and looked great. The attack looked slick. The defense was good. And it was one crucial error that turned the game. Also a bit of brilliance. Obviously one of the best tries you'll ever see. But, they practiced, and I saw it with my own eyes. They practiced the kick defense, the kick chase as one line. And unfortunately, one of them went on his own. He missed. 2 other guys come in. They missed. That's the definition of staggered. And it all went from there. So I fault them as a team, not necessarily an individual making a missed tackle, because that's not the crime of the century. But you got to stay in your line. And then poor old Will Kennan at the end just couldn't get it done. The flack that he's getting is ridiculous because you flip the coin. He did the exact same thing to the same guy that did it to him 5 minutes before in a bit of brilliance. It happens. So the team is at fault for that try, in my opinion. Turned the game. It was that simple. Even after that, we played okay. We scored a try. We had the kick to level it. The kick was pretty hard. Didn't really go close in reality. That's a shame. But I hope it's not a loss we regret, Kieran, because there's only been 4 this year, but 3 of them have been really poor starts. And I guess when that happens, they're gonna have to realize it's happening and go to plan B or go to the default, the emergency, whatever it is, because you can't keep doing that every 2 or 3 weeks.
And it's just crazy because as soon as they got the ball and actually started playing like they wanted to play, they went back to back and put on all those tries themselves, right? So it just goes to show, like, if the starts are right, they can actually do what they want to do. Because the back end of the game was 22-6 or whatever, 8, whatever the points were, right? So just super frustrating. And I think we've heard a little bit of noise around. They played 6 really high level games back to back, right? It was like a final series that they just competed in, right? With like must win games almost because of their reputation. Yeah. And, apparently that's taken a bit of a toll on them, mentally and physically. So look, the buys, the freshen up, that all those excuses I think are now out the window, and that can't happen again. Like, it's just at that point now where they really need to work out what they want to do this season, because outside of Penrith, it's a pretty wide open comp. Like, they can make a few adjustments and go on a run. There's a couple of teams that are in the same basket as the Sharks, right? So
Yeah.
it's still a wide open competition, but they have these holes in their game where they just collapse and they fall into a heap and just get blown off the park, but then can somehow manage to wrangle it back, which is, you look for a positive, that's great, but geez, you shouldn't be in those positions to begin with because it's ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm not really happy looking at the ladder and being third, and people would say, well, if you ask me that, it's like, yeah, if you ask me that, sure. But to be first, second for so long, now we're slipping down to third, and I realize we're going back up with the bye, which is great, or maybe we stay there, I'm not sure, but we're going to be top 3, you'd think, next week. I don't want us to keep slipping. So 3 losses from 4 games is a little bit alarming, but it is a fresh start, and we're going to have some troops because revealed last night, Nicho Hynes and Cam McInnes dropped from Origin. McInnes is on the extended bench. I'll say this. Cam McInnes, not wanted by a club, that makes the New South Wales Blues the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So if you support the Blues, you're supporting a team as silly as the Dragons because they don't want Cam McInnes. Can you imagine a team not want? I can't imagine it. Nicho Hynes, out of form a little bit. Someone else maybe in better form. That's their decision. I understand it. Would I pick Nicho? Sure, I would. I think he's awesome. Cam McInnes, they are taking the proverbial. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's crazy because all the talk during the week of Origin last time was about how much they wanted to be a team like Cam and hardworking and not taking shortcuts, and his quick play the balls and all those type of things is what he delivered on, and he did his job in that game. Look, I can understand you wanting to get Cameron Murray back in. Again, Isaiah Yeo is kind of the elephant in the room there because he kind of is having to be picked, but I don't know if he's really delivered in that Origin arena, and he doesn't really get that criticism that a lot of the other players get, right? So there's a few of those sort of players that are in that team that you kind of go, I'm not sure about that. But from a selfish perspective, I'm glad that Nicho and Cam went through Origin 1 and the pain that they went through, the consequences of playing in front of 80,000 people and the decision-making and how fast the game was and all those things for Nicho. He can take a positive out of that, even though he didn't maybe play the game that he wanted to play. It's great experience for him, and now he can come back. And I think now, look, Cleary's a chance of coming back for game 3. Moses is back. So hopefully all that head noise from Nicho is just removed now because he's like, you know what? I'm not in it. I don't care anymore. I've got to turn this club around and get us back to where we need to be. And I don't think Cam's going to be too rattled by not being in there. I think Cam's a bit of a mature guy, and he could be kind of like, look, I was happy to play. If they need me, I'll jump in there and give everything as well. But a curious Blues team. I think it's a better Blues team than the Game 1 team.
Oh, we're not here to talk about them. I don't care about the Blues. I'm just pointing out they are the St. George Illawarra Dragons. And hey, the Dragons are improving every week, right? So I think it's good there's a bye for Nicho not to be playing this week. Let's get the headspace right. I expect him next week to be at 100%. There's no excuses. I am a bit of a Nicho defender amongst all the defenders out there, but next week it's on again, and he's got to be ready to go, and I don't doubt that he will be, in all honesty. I'm not just saying that. I haven't just got my Shark hat on, my Shark glasses. I think that he'll be ready to rock next week. We saw last year in Origin, it took him a week or so to recover. This is the week he gets in reality too. And we move on. And a slightly easier draw, but playing the Bulldogs, who are going pretty good. And they don't. They're a team that doesn't miss a lot of tackles, and they sort of play to their strengths. So certainly a challenging game. If you think that's not, you need to go watch them of late. It doesn't mean they're not. I mean, I'd rather be playing them than a whole bunch of teams, but it's not going to be as easy as what we thought, and that's fine. We don't necessarily need easy. I think we've relied on easy for a long time. Then we come into 6 to 8 weeks of really tough football. It freaks us all out, fans, players, whatever. So time to get back just into the groove, into the grind, and But yeah, can't be stressed enough that a disappointing game overall. And we do have a truckload, there's literally a truckload outside SharkCast headquarters of mail that has come in. It's still coming in. If you want to send it in, please do. SharkCastpod@gmail.com is the best way. DM us if you would like other ways. And we'll get to the mail this week. But there's a ton of mail, Kieran, and that's awesome. Like, it's mostly pretty respectful. It's not all positive. I'll give you that tip. But have your say. Let us know what you think. And we'd love to chat about it with you. So we'll get to that during the week for sure. Appreciate everyone being in touch. Anything else you want to touch on with the Dolphins game? I'm certainly not skimming over it, but I mean, it's just one of those games that the story was in the opening 20. It wasn't about the last 5. It wasn't about Nico. Well, let's talk about Nico missing the kick. I think if he's on the left, it goes pretty close.
Yeah, and look, I think blaming Nico for the loss is kind of lazy. He wasn't great, but he wasn't the reason why they lost. That is a really tough kick to make. And he has made pressure kicks before from the other sideline. He's made field goals for us. He's won us games single-handedly when a game has been on the line. So, all this narrative I see from people saying, oh, he's soft and, mentally weak and all that type of stuff. Every single player has head noise. Every single player goes through it. And I actually think Nico's actually quite strong for being able to get on the front foot and talk about it, because there's a lot of guys that are some of the greats that go through it and they bottle it up and, they internalize it. We saw Brett Kamali in 2005. The Sharks were flying through that intercept with Matty Bowen, and then our season self-destructed. You can say that Nico didn't have the greatest end of the season last year after a few games after Origin, but he got it back together and we went on a bit of a run towards the end. And, I think he's going to get there and he'll turn it around again this year. I do need to see some improvement from his kicking game. I think that's probably been quite lacking the last couple of weeks. But he's had a stop-start season himself with, hamstrings and all that other type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully this break will, he can get away from everything and just kind of, work on his game and get his kicking back to where it needs to be. And we'll be able to go again. But I don't think you can put that loss on Nico and that missed kick, because, anything could have happened in Golden Point. And the reality is you should not be down by 22 points after 25 minutes. That's the real problem. And that's the real reason why we lost, not because Nico missed a goal from the sideline. We shouldn't have been in that position.
I also don't think it's necessarily him not being clutch or him freaking out at responsibility. Yeah. It looked to me like it was just a bit of a shank. And, needs to do better. But no one can say definitively he missed that because he choked or he, whatever stupid cliche you want to throw in. Sometimes guys just miss goals. It didn't look good coming off the foot. No argument. Yeah. But, I mean, we're talking about a guy who I think has only missed 1 to 2 goals at home all year. And guess what? It happened to be the hardest one. So
he was 4 from 4 from that sideline in the season from the rest of the games he played. But, he missed it. Jonathan Thurston missed a kick to win a grand final from a similar spot, right? Like, the greats will miss the kicks. But so someone had that argument with me online, right? And my retort to that was just like, a miss is a miss. It is. In the history books, it's not going to go back and say, oh, he just missed it or he missed it. You can miss it or you miss it. I know, but like these are some arguments I've seen online, right? And some people will say, I'd rather lose a grand final by 40 points than by 1 point. You've lost the grand final. Who cares? So like this argument of if he was more clutch, he would have missed it by a closer margin. Like, what are we talking about here? Come and see me. Come and catch me outside about that. We can discuss that one, because that one's off its head.
In a friendly way, Kieran. You're not threatening anyone there, are you? Boy, there's plenty of people online who'd like to threaten, isn't there? Take him to IGA, Chatham Point. Royce Hunt.
Wow.
Don't know if we're going to say career best form, but he's just really, really good, and he's on, and he's in the pocket. He only played for 27 minutes, but he ran for 70 meters and busted people, and he was pretty good. Scored a try with his first touch, maybe. So, narrative out there is that he's been told he can look elsewhere in a few years. We hear that he wants to stay with the club if they can make it happen. We do know there's a bunch of people chasing him. Most of them are top tier clubs, and I think that's going to be enticing for him. whether he sees another club who's going better than us or not, and we're going pretty good, versus staying put where he is, familiarity, for decent money. I don't think the Sharks are going to throw the bank at him. I hope they give him something acceptable so he can stay, and that would be probably whatever he's on, a little bit more. But I have no doubt someone will come in with a bigger offer, and it's up to him, make his choice. I don't think it'll necessarily be done soon. And the way he's going, if he keeps playing like this, that's to the benefit of him, because he's playing really great footy. Are we getting carried away as fans with Royce's performances? And I'm one of his biggest fans, but I'm not personally getting carried away with it.
I do think he's in career best form. Like some of those runs that he had and that try that he scored, like the immediate impact that he had was absolutely, something that we've been crying out for, especially when the game was so dour. I do think he wants to stay. I think it's one of those situations where he's waiting to see what we can do for 26. And I think that's going to be a real key. I mean, Mooney, again, talks about this. We plan the roster 5 years out. I don't know how that all fits. I don't know how much salary cap room. And I don't know if they're looking at the current roster that we've got and sort of saying, right, well, if we do let Royce go early in 25, where could we spend that money to bolster up other positions? So if we have to lose Royce Hunt to get Fonua Blake and improve another position, it's probably a trade that I would have to make. But if we could keep Royce Hunt in the form that he's in with Fonua Blake, I think that's tremendous. And, Toby and Hamlin-Uele, they're locked into contracts. Hazelton's, apparently the club's taken up the option on him as well. He's locked in. Tooks is locked in as well. So I don't really see much movement from anyone else. It's just, I think that Royce is the first one of those older three that's up, and he's in career best form. And, you see what props are getting paid on the open market right now, and he's in a lot of form, but he's only playing 27 minutes, right? So you have to wonder what that does to the market value, because is a club looking at him as a starter, or are they looking at him as an impact prop? And I don't know what that does in terms of dollar figures, but in terms of minutes and output, he's put on a bit more size this year, which is hard to believe given he's one of the biggest humans in the world, to specifically be that bench impact player, because Fitz didn't want him to be starting this year. He wanted him to be that impact player. So it'll be interesting to see how other clubs view him, because, he's on the open market. If he was not at the Sharks, you would be saying, I want to sign this guy.
Yeah, for sure. I just wonder how much you'd throw at him if you were a club looking for someone like that. Because they're short stints.
Yeah, 27 minutes, right? And so that was broken into two stints. I think one was 23 minutes, and the last one he came in the last 4 minutes, which was frustrating because we needed points. He came on the first set of 6. We didn't give him the ball, and then he was just defending, right? So I don't even know if he got a run in that last 4 minute stint. Maybe he did in the second set, but that was a tough watch.
There's a rumor going around Blake Borelli didn't run on the weekend. He's got one run for 3 meters.
Uncharacteristic game for him, considering how well he has been playing. We needed more from him for sure.
Yeah, I didn't think he was anywhere near our worst. It was more just he was back to the tackling machine and not really opening up the game too much. He wasn't even engaging the line too much. And I mean, some of that circumstantial, you don't have much of the ball in the opening 30 minutes. Your stats aren't going to look good, but we definitely needed more from Blake. So I hope he has a breakout game against the Dogs. He's not alone. A lot of guys with very low run meters in the forwards. The backs all, in theory, did their job with the meters. So, but I did want to talk about Royce Hunt. And I mean, how do you think we're going to come out against the Dogs? What you feeling? We'll be back in training probably midweek.
Yeah, so I mean, the Dogs have really fixed up a lot of their defense, and they're looking really good. I think we even spoke about it, saying we were glad that we got them early in the season because they hadn't really clicked and gelled yet. They seem to now fully understand the new defensive systems that they brought in there and have implemented. They've improved a lot. I mean, we should beat them. Like, there's no ifs or buts about that. But I think it's going to be one of those tough games, and hopefully it's not one of those rainy nights out at Homebush, and it's a little bit of a better night, so we can actually play a bit more football. Because I think we've got more points in us than they do. but they're defending really well at the moment, and it's going to be a test. And then you look at the games after that and around it. We know like the Titans and West Tigers, Souths, I think is in there as well too. So there's a couple of interesting games, a couple of curly ones. Hopefully a revenge game against the Tigers, because I'm still not over that loss from earlier in the season. But I'm starting to get angry. This is good.
Yeah. On the Dogs, so we're ranked 5th for points and tries. They're in 8th. They're second for line breaks. We are 8th. But keep in mind, we convert more on the line breaks than what they do with tries. Defensively, they're conceding the second fewest points and the fewest tries. Sharks are in 4th for both. They're conceding the fewest line breaks. We're 3rd fewest, so both going pretty good. But they are traveling a bit better than what we think. So let's get prepared for that one week after. Sharkies still have the second best completion rate, believe it or not, after the weekend. 4th fewest errors. Now that stuff doesn't matter when you lose. I get that. But just pointing out a few things here. So still not traveling too bad as far as all that stuff goes. It's just the things that the stats don't cover. The early start.
It's when it rains, it pours, right? And when we seem to make those errors and make those bad completion rates, it just rains and it buckets down when it does. And they can't seem to pull the handbrake up at the moment.
All right. Let's play Random Shark of the Week before we talk about what we did last night. And the Random Shark of the Week is a regular segment we have with Kieran most Monday mornings. And this one I just picked out of a hat, and I feel like, without giving too much away, it's a little bit like last week, a bit easy because it's kind of in your pocket. So I'm disappointed in myself already, but we'll see how you go. Born 18th of October 1981. Junior club. I don't know you like these ones, so I don't like giving you junior clubs, but I believe it's pronounced Barala Bears.
Yes.
You know him well.
I think Sione Katoa played for them.
Did he?
Okay. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. So 29 NRL games all up for this gentleman. 29 all up. In those 29 games, he scored 10 tries. 10 NRL tries. He played 2 games off the bench. 29 NRL games, 2 off the bench, 10 tries. 1, 2. Played for 3 NRL clubs. Debuted in 03, finished in 09. 03 to 09, NRL. Played in 2 final series in 06, 07. He debuted in a local derby at Cogra in 2003. Debuted for the infamous 2003 Cronulla Sharks team.
Yeah, one of the greats. One of the absolute greats. I remember that game. I do remember that game. And I'll remember watching it at my house when I was living up on the Central Coast and just thinking, can we win a game? Like, it would be just so nice to win a game because it was such a depressing season and the Dragons pumped us that day.
28-12. However, this gentleman did go on to win the next 3 games after that, if you remember, against Manly, Souths, and Newcastle. And he would play 7 games for us in that year. 7 games for the Mighties in 03. He was not a forward.
Okay, so I'm thinking back to random backs that we had in 03. Did we have Jason Kent then? No, he didn't play for 3 clubs. He certainly wasn't playing.
He's an Anderson boy for sure.
Like,
no, I need a little bit more. Jason Kent. Remember he played halfback for a bit?
Yeah, I do remember that. We signed him, I think, as a centre fullback, and then he was.
Oh, he's better than Preston. He's better than Preston. I've got something else to say. I'm not going to say it because boy, oh boy, I'll probably end up in jail. But you know what I'm going to say. He's something else than Preston. Woo! Uh-oh. Shinazzi is making claims about former coaches. All right. He played 03 for the Sharks.
Yep.
Didn't play NRL again until 06, 07, 08, 09.
Andrew Emilio?
The answer to Random Shark of the Week is not Mitch Healy, and it's not Ryan, what's his name? Ryan McGoldrick. Sorry, Ryan. And it's not Jason Kenton. It's not Brett Kamali. It is Andrew Emilio. Well done. You've proved your freakdom yet again. As I said, I mean, I probably wouldn't have got it, but you're a different level, especially in this weird era of life that you obsess over. Oh, man, I've got to get the 03 jersey.
Oh, I do have an 03 jersey just hanging up here. But
if I had it, I'd burn it. I'm a bit fired up today.
What three clubs? I know he played for the Bulldogs and the Sharks, but
I take that back. I wouldn't burn a Sharks jersey. I'd laugh at it, but I wouldn't burn it. I wouldn't laugh at it. He played for the Bulldogs in 06, 07, played finals with them.
Yep.
08 as well, and then Panthers 09 one game.
He played for the Panthers. Okay.
09, yeah.
I would have I think I've forgotten that one, but I do remember when we signed him, he had the really cool cornrows, and I thought, you know what? This guy looks like, he could be something, because he came with some raps for that Bulldog system, and the Bulldogs were just producing all these great Islander players at the time, like Asatasi, Sonny Bill, and then we got Andrew Emilio, and I'm like, we've got one, and then it just was over. How long did he stay at the club for? I think was he gone in 04?
Well, he didn't play NRL. I couldn't tell you where he was.
I think.
I'm assuming he didn't sign a 1-year deal, right?
No, I think he maybe got released early. I think he might have gone overseas. But what a recruitment class that we had in 03, like Andrew Lomu, and just some great talent that we had.
Stewie came in and just got the red pen out and was like, All right, so last night you and I and your better half and my better half, Brendan Woodbridge, went to see Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with this? What's the deal with that? What do you do? A lot of observational stuff. And it was just lights out, as we thought it might be, but just to be there and confirm it, I thought it was just terrific. I've seen him twice now. Both times, I literally have probably felt the best I ever have in my life. Just someone I've idolized for so long, and he's just so reliable at what he does. Like, he loves what he does, obviously. He doesn't need to do it. He just does it. I mean, he's getting paid very, very well, but he doesn't need the money, obviously. He does it for love. And even though it's the same kind of shtick he's been doing for 35, 40 years, it's new material, and it's great, and it's modern, and it's up to date. And even just the opening bit when he comes out with the phone, take your picture, go on, take your picture. The whole thing was fantastic. Had a great time with you, with Grace, with Brendo. It was just good company, and we had good seats, and a really terrific night.
It was unreal, and it's kind of surreal when you're sitting in the crowd and you're looking at this guy who, I've been watching Seinfeld now for, I don't even know how many years I've been watching. Probably over 30 years. Yeah, definitely over 30 years, right? So it's just surreal to see him up close and in person, and just, sometimes I was just looking at the big screen, just kind of like in awe, like, wow, he's just right there. But it's funny that he's still so funny, because sometimes you see comedians kind of drop off, or they'll have like a peak period, and then they just kind of go away, and they stop doing stand-up. It's because they maybe evolved and they say, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. But he was unreal. It was great to see Cleve as well. Cleve obviously some great tickets. I don't know how he swung that, but maybe pulled the missus card, and that's how he got upgraded to the front. So shout out to Cleve. But a great night, a great seat.
I don't know what that means, but
Actually,
on the way out, you missed it, but I met Mrs. Cleve, and we had a chat to Cleve, and yeah.
Did you talk to her about her partner's eating habits and how he needs to make some healthy lifestyle changes?
No, I wish I did, but we talked about Springsteen, because she's a Springsteen girl. So we talked about that. Remember, we were talking about it at the bar.
It's probably more interesting than talking about 6-week-old hamburgers.
I'm semi-obsessed with his diet.
It's The one that got me was when he was at the airport in Melbourne and bought like 2 cheeseburgers, brought it home to Sydney, put it in the freezer for like 4 days, and then ate it the next week. That was to me peak Cleve. So Cleve, we're airing your dirty laundry, but you put it all out there anyway, mate. So
What's his
sorry,
what's his social media stuff? Beer Boy, is it just Beer Boy?
Beer Boy 182.
Yeah, so follow him on the socials. He's a good mate of ours, good mate of the show. He listens, and he's just one of the better humans in life. But very, very. I don't know if he's still got it, but in the past, recent past, he had a very, I guess, just weird diet. Like he loves, I guess, fast food is what you'd call it.
He was Russ Eats on Instagram before Russ Eats existed, and so many people have pinged him and tagged him and that said you should have done this. Like anytime there's a special flavor food that comes out, Cleve is always the first person to be eating it or talking about it. So he missed the boat. Though,
like he's one of the better looking gentlemen in the world. Like he looks fit. He's a good looking dude. I'm hoping he's healthy. You know what I mean?
He's got an iron stomach.
Yeah. Like if I did that, I'd be like 30 kilograms on top of what I am now. It's like, so I respect him for that. But yeah, anyway, we had a great time at Seinfeld, and it was, if you ever get the chance, is what I would say, whether you're in another city, if you're in another country, if you get the chance to go see him and you're partial to it, just do it. Like he's not going to let you down. He's just on. Like he was on. The energy was like he literally jogs onto the stage and it doesn't let up. You could see him drinking the water. He was pretty energetic for like 70 minutes. Like, and he's 70 years old. Like he didn't go through the motions. That's for sure.
I thought he was going to lose his voice a couple of times because, I think he did the show before ours as well, right? So maybe that was just because of the back-to-back stuff. But
he was in Perth. Voice crack. He was in Perth the night before. Yeah, he was definitely a little bit more raspy than what he would like, but he was also obviously doing the Jerry, and it got, the more he did that, the more strained it got, but it actually suited it. He's got a day off today, so he'll be sweet. If you're going to see him tomorrow, I mean, you're in for a great awesome night. Like he's the king. I loved, and I know I was playing it up to you and Grace, but I love just being on. Like I'm on with Seinfeld gags 24/7 anyway, but we're in the car park and I'm saying to my mate Brendan, don't forget where we parked, and then I was like, I hope I see someone walking along with a TV and a goldfish and like when I went to the bathroom, there was a guy like going like, "What's with the line?" And like everyone was just on. It was amazing to be with your own people. And I sent you a text about that. It was just, I was in my element, I would say. If my element isn't Shark Park, then my element is watching Seinfeld with a bunch of Seinfeld fans.
And you just have to wonder, like at his age, we might not get to see him do another stand-up show like that. Like it's been 7 years since the last one when we saw him in 2017, right? So I think in 7 years' time he'd be, pushing, late 70s. So I don't think, he might do it again. So if you do get a chance to see him, definitely take it up because it's awesome. And the first time I went and saw him, I was a little bit standoffish because I thought, how funny could he stand up actually be? Because I thought he might be a bit dated. But both times I've seen him, he's been unreal. Yeah, and so was the warm-up act as well.
Mario, who is more commonly referred to as Black Saab, and if you're a Seinfeld fan, you'll get the Black Saab reference. But twice we've seen him over a space of 8 or 9 years, and he's been the warm-up guy. So obviously that's a thing. I completely understand and agree with you about we're not sure when he'll be back. I'll say this: he looks pretty fit and healthy. Touch wood for a guy of his age. I mean, he obviously lives a pretty relaxed lifestyle, aside from. Part of the whole show was like, how his family's just grinding his gears the whole time. But I think he's a guy that's just going to, he'll be like Wayne Bennett. He's just going to keep doing it, and I think once the standard drops, he'll stop. But I don't know why the stand would drop aside from older age where maybe he loses some of the whatever mentally, physically, whatever happens when you get to that age or older. I'm not getting to a thing here where you can't do stuff when you're old. Springsteen's out rocking and he's 74. I'm just saying, I think he's going to keep going as long as he can. He obviously loves doing it.
Well, there was 2 shows there, right? So he would have got over 30,000 people just in Sydney alone last night, right? Probably even closer to 35,000.
More like 40, yeah.
Yeah. So he did that. He's done Perth. He's doing all of Australia, and he would be taking this all around the world, right? So obviously the demand is still there for him to be doing that, and you could tell he was having fun because he was cracking himself up a couple of times. You could see, but he was such a professional. Like how he kept his train of thought, and how he doesn't break anything, and those the stories, just like the amount of punches to all the things, that the detail that he goes into with those jokes. Like it's super impressive because. There's a few times I was listening to him talk, thinking, how is he able to remember all of this stuff and just be like so punchy with it? It was really good.
So I was doing the same thing, but I don't think a lot of it is like, I think he's just got points where he hits, but he talks around it. So and I'm not saying you're saying this, but it's clearly not scripted. Like he's got he probably has points that he wants to hit, the joke about this, the joke about that, but then he flies in between, like, oh, it's your birthday. Oh, what about this? Like, just all sorts of different things. We had a jovial protester there, which was interesting for about 3 minutes, and I don't want to get into all that stuff, but he handled that really well. That led into some gags, part of the show, and so so it's not scripted. He obviously has a plan, and he hits all the plans. You can tell, but he flies a lot in between, I reckon, too.
It would make sense, right? I mean, the curb stuff that they do so often is a lot of like that as well. But to be able to link all those different things together and make it all flow, it's such a talent. And especially, in his 70s, to be that quick with the wit and the jokes. Yes. Like, obviously, he's a funny guy and he's been doing it for a long time. But he doesn't miss a beat. Like someone's birthday joke and how special do you think you are? Like that type of stuff is just he's probably been doing that for 20 years, right? But every time it's just amazing, and it's just he does not miss a beat. So it was such a fun night. I'm so happy we went.
Yeah, I was really impressed just with the delivery of the dialogue. I mean, we get on here every Monday and we talk about the Sharks, and for people who watch the unedited video on YouTube, which some are right now. There's a lot of me going, well,
get the game half the time.
Yeah. What team do we support? But this guy's on stage in front of 20,000 people a night, sharp as. There's no ums, there's no ahs. There's barely a pause. And he's animated with his body, and he does a lot of the kind of, like, I mean, people can see on YouTube, but like the leaning forward and that kind of stuff. And anyway, I mean, you and I, one of our true loves in life is Seinfeld, and when you have, and there's a lot of people in the world like that, it's their favorite show or favorite sitcom, and when you have that passion for that show, and there's a bond. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like when you and I can quote something from episode 3, line 2 or whatever, and we both know what we're talking about. That's a
not
bond.
That there's anything wrong with that.
No. So great night. Appreciate you.
Great night. And we saw some SharkCast fans out there too. So it's great to see them as well.
Did we?
I did. Anyway, at the locker room. But yeah, it was good to see them.
Ah. Well, I hope they're doing well. Hope they had a good time. Did Grace enjoy my company?
She did. She
what
did.
She say?
She said that she said you were a lot taller than she remembered.
Really?
Yeah. So, your height.
Well,
so that. She probably... Look, I know Grace very well. Obviously, I'm married to her. I've got multiple children with her. I don't think she watches a lot of SharkCast, but she would see it on my story when I repost it occasionally. So maybe you don't project your height. Yeah, maybe you don't project your height as much as you do in real life.
I'm also not freakishly tall either.
Well, but I mean, you are taller than me. I mean, I'm at least 5'11", right? So you must be at least 6'2".
No, I'm not 6'2". I sort of say I'm around.
Thank you for sticking with that, by the way.
I'm not.
I said I was 5'11".
What are you?
You didn't correct me. I think I'm about 5'8".
Yeah, so I was going to say I'm 5'11"-ish, I think. I think I'm just around 6, not over. Anyway, I'm sure people are enjoying our talk about how tall we are.
I was just thinking, like, if things do go wrong, we could put you on a dating website and we'd say that you were 6 foot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that'll get the people in. Don't tell them anything else, though.
Just he's 6 foot.
I was only asking what Grace thought, because we hadn't really hung out that much at all. We just seen each other, occasionally said hi, hey, how's it going? But could you tell I was on? I was trying to.
No, you were good. And again,
no, Grace, I was trying to impress. I was coming out of my body. I was literally trying to be someone else.
You did good. Okay. And you cracked a few jokes. You made a laugh. So
This is
Again,
what I
she
was
had a
trying to
great
do.
time.
This is what I was
You
trying
did
to
make
do.
her laugh. And
Okay.
she's made of granite and stone. She doesn't laugh at any of my jokes. So, you did well.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You're ahead of me.
I really wanted to say something to you guys when Joe was talking about the couple stuff and the marriage, and I really wanted to look.
I did not want to look.
I'm not going to look.
Well,
Anyway.
because, so if you weren't there, Joe was making some jokes about you and your partner and what each other thinks of each other. And I was trying very hard not to look at Grace during some of those ones. But sometimes I did. And she was already looking at me. So.
All right. Well, it was a great way to end what was a miserable week of rugby league. So
Absolutely.
We'll be back. We'll probably be back next Monday. We'll see how we're going. We'll probably be back. No game at all.
I'm around.
Just do a random Shark of the Week. Appreciate everyone listening. We'll get to the letters this week. I might have some more news for you about things Shark related, SharkCast related, more specifically, to be a bit mysterious. Till then, we will talk to you soon. So take care. Enjoy the week off, so to speak. Start thinking about how we can win and get back to our best. Send in your ideas because we'd love to hear them. We'll see you later. SharkCast Pod. Appreciate everyone. Take care. Thanks, Kieran.
Cheers.
What's the deal with Ovaltine? Why don't they call it Roundtine?